On the day of my wedding, he saved her from the car wreck, left me to burn. They thought I died. And I did. But fate gave me one more chance. I woke up 10 years in the past in the same school, staring at the same two faces. This time, I won't beg. I won't love. I'll burn their lies to the ground, starting with the ring he never gave me. I was the girl they betrayed. Now I'm the queen they'll never survive. I had loved Lucas Reed for 10 years. Not the kind of teenage flutter that fades with time, but a steady, searing devotion that shaped my entire youth. I was the Cross family heiress. He was a broke scholarship student. I gave him everything, my time, my support, my name. While others fell in love with fairy tales, I tried to build one with my bare hands. When he finally said yes to my proposal, I thought the story was complete. The stubborn prince had finally chosen his loyal queen. What a joke. Because on the day I was supposed to become Mrs. Lucas Reed, I died, in a white silk gown surrounded by fire. The ceremony was perfect. Almost cinematic. Gold-trimmed dial. Orchids flown in from Morocco. A harpist playing an original composition written just for us. Everything screamed elegance and old money, which was ironic since Lucas had neither. But I didn't care. I never had. I had dressed him in the world's finest suits and introduced him to powerful men who owed my father favors. Every inch of his rise I paved with my own hands. So when I saw him standing at the altar, looking like every dream I'd ever dared to have, I believed, foolishly, that it was all worth it. He kissed me with conviction. He smiled like he meant it. And I believed him. It happened after the ceremony. We were en route to the reception, just the two of us and Isabelle Hart, my maid of honor, best friend since childhood, and the only person I ever let call me Natty. She sat in the front passenger seat, humming softly, pretending to scroll through her phone. Then came the crash. Screeching tires. A sickening crunch. My head slamming against the door. Everything tilted. The world spun sideways. For a moment, all I heard was the sound of blood rushing in my ears. Then silence. Then pain. So much pain. I blinked through the smoke, disoriented. The car was totaled. My dress was soaked in something. Was it blood? I couldn't move. My right leg was pinned beneath the seat. Natty, my leg. I can't feel my leg. Isabelle sobbed from the front, her voice tight with pain and panic. Lucas was the first to move. He kicked open the door, scrambled out, blood running down the side of his face, and went straight to her. "Vinny," she cried, using that sickening nickname. "Please don't leave me here. My leg, I think it's broken." "I've got you," Lucas said, his voice strained but determined. "It's okay, I've got you." He pulled her into his arms with strength I didn't know he had. Her blood smeared across his shirt as she clutched him like he was her only anchor. Me. I was still in the back seat, trying to breathe through a shattered lung. "Lucas," I gasped, "help me. I can't move." He finally looked at me. There was a flicker in his eyes. Guilt? Pity? Maybe even affection. For a second I let myself believe he'd come back for me. Then Isabelle whimpered again. "Vinny, don't leave me alone." And the flicker vanished. Lucas turned back toward her. "You'll be okay, Natalie," he said almost impatiently. "You're a cross. You're strong." But Isabelle, her leg. Dancing is her dream. Dancing. He was choosing her dream over my life. "Lucas." I screamed, my voice cracking. "I'm bleeding out. I could die." He paused, glanced at me one last time, and then without hesitation, carried her toward the flashing lights in the distance. Just like that. He left me. The smoke thickened. I could barely keep my eyes open. My fingers trembled as I reached for the door. Too late. I was too slow. I saw them, Lucas and Isabelle, disappearing into the haze. She turned her head. And smiled. A small, victorious smile. Like the last dagger to the heart. The wedding car exploded. It was agony. Flames tore through flesh, burning away everything I was. I didn't scream. I couldn't. My lungs collapsed in the fire. All I could do was stare upward at the ceiling of the car melting above me. And then, nothing. No pain. No sound. Only darkness. When I opened my eyes, it was to the blaring sound of a school bell. My heart pounded as I shot up, gasping. The scent of chalk, cheap perfume, and damp grass hit my senses all at once. I blinked hard. Wait, was I on the campus bench? Not at the wedding. Not even in a hospital. Just a school courtyard? I looked around in disbelief. The walls were the same pale stone of Northcrest Elite Academy, the private prep school where I'd spent my high school years. Students in matching navy blazers moved around me, laughing, chatting, carrying textbooks. No one noticed me. No one screamed or said I was covered in blood. Because I wasn't. I looked down at myself. Perfectly intact. Uniform crisp. Skin unburned. My hands shook as I reached up to my face. It was smooth. Whole. Was this some kind of hallucination? And then clarity. A wave of memories hit me like a freight train. This courtyard. This day. That bell. This was the morning of that incident. The day Lucas Reed, back when he was just a poor scholarship boy, got into trouble with Declan Hayes and his rich boy gang. And the day I, like a fool, had intervened to save him. The day I'd publicly defended him for the first time. The moment our doomed love story began. I shot to my feet, trembling. Oh. No. This wasn't a dream. I was back. Back in time. 10 years before my own death. Before I gave Lucas my heart. Before Isabelle stole everything from me. The universe had given me a second chance. And I wasn't going to waste it. There's a funny thing about déjà vu. When it hits you right, it feels like watching a rerun of your own downfall with popcorn in hand. That's exactly what it felt like, standing in the middle of Northcrest Academy's courtyard, the morning fog still lifting, while Lucas Reed got shoved face-first into the mud. Just like before. Except this time I wasn't rushing in to help. I crossed my arms and leaned against the cold stone pillar, watching the scene play out like a drama I'd already read the spoilers for. Declan Hayes, smug as ever, circled Lucas like a lion toying with a wounded gazelle. You think just because you stood up for that weepy little mess, you're suddenly some kind of knight? He taunted, jabbing Lucas in the ribs with the toe of his leather shoe. The mess in question was hiding half a courtyard away, clutching a notebook to her chest like it was a shield. Isabelle Hart. Hair perfectly mussed, eyes misty, lips parted just enough to make her look perpetually lost. She peeked out from behind a pillar, watching the boys beat Lucas up like she was the tragic heroine in a soap opera. Back in my old life, I'd believed her performance. I'd believed everything. That she was weak, that she needed protection, that she wasn't trying to get between me and Lucas. And I had rushed in like a fool, called the principal, dragged my father into it, and used every ounce of my power to shield Lucas from punishment. What did I get in return? A front row seat to my own cremation, while Isabelle rode away in his arms like the leading lady. Not again. Lick it, Declan said, grinding his shoe into Lucas's cheek. Come on. You like being the hero, right? Lick it clean, hero boy. Lucas clenched his jaw and turned away. His face was bleeding from a split brow. His pride probably bled worse. A few students nearby snickered. Some pulled out their phones, ready to record another moment of humiliation. Teenagers were cruel, but they weren't stupid. Most of them wouldn't dare join Declan outright, but they loved a spectacle. And then Lucas saw me. His eyes flicked up, locking with mine through the crowd. I could see the instant hope sparked in them, hope that I'd intervene again, that I'd storm in like I had before, like I always had. His lips even started to form my name. Natalie. Not this time. I tilted my head slightly, gave him a long, dispassionate look and turned my face away. Let him drown in the same mud he expected me to pull him from. Declan noticed the pause. What's wrong? He mocked. Waiting for your princess to come save you again? The students laughed. Lucas's shoulders tensed. That wasn't just mud now. It was humiliation, betrayal, and disbelief all rolled into one filthy mess. My heels clicked against the pavement as I walked away. Behind me, someone whispered, "Did Natalie Cross really just ignore him? Guess even she's finally had enough." Another laugh followed. One of the guys yelled, "If she's not helping you, nobody will. Beat him." The sound of fists landing on flesh echoed across the courtyard. I didn't turn back. Back in class, I slid into my old seat like I belonged there. Because I did. My family's name was engraved into the very architecture of this school. I was Natalie Cross. No one dared touch me. Harper Lynn raised an eyebrow from her desk a few rows ahead. Look who actually showed up on time. I smirked. What can I say? Rising from the dead gives a girl perspective. She rolled her eyes. That or you finally realized Lucas Reed isn't worth his shoelaces. I said nothing. Just let the silence stretch, calm and cool. Harper narrowed her eyes slightly. I could tell she was watching me, waiting for me to argue like I always used to. But the old Natalie was gone. Let her rest in ashes where she belonged. 10 minutes later, the classroom door creaked open. Lucas entered, dragging mud across the polished floor with every limp step. His uniform was soaked and torn. One eye was swollen. Blood trailed from his lip down to his collar. Isabelle trailed behind him, not a hair out of place. He was spotless. How convenient. Our homeroom teacher, Ms. Rhodes, looked up from her attendance sheet. What happened to you two? Isabelle's eyes immediately welled with tears. Miss Lucas got bullied. I tried to help but they pushed me too. Liar. No one laid a finger on her. Before anyone could respond, Harper muttered, and yet she doesn't have a scratch on her. A few students snorted. I looked up from my notes, made eye contact with Isabelle and gave her a slow, sarcastic smile. She blinked, clearly unnerved. For years she'd played me like a harp. Not anymore. You too, Ms. Rhodes sighed, already exhausted. Stand at the back. You're late. Lucas looked at me. He didn't say anything, but the betrayal was written all over his face. The girl who once shielded him from everything had left him in the dirt. I didn't flinch. After class he made his move. As soon as the teacher stepped out, Lucas approached my desk, one hand still clutching his ribs. Natalie, he said, voice hoarse, did I do something to upset you? Oh, this was rich. From the front row, Harper turned around just in time to catch my eye and mouth the words. If you fall for this, I swear I'll strangle you with my lunch tray. I almost laughed. I slammed my book shut and looked up. This place was peaceful before two stray dogs wandered in. Lucas flinched. Isabelle stepped in quickly, her voice trembling but determined. Natalie, no, I mean Miss Cross. If I did something to offend you, I'm sorry. But please, don't take it out on Lucas. He doesn't deserve that. The gall. I leaned back in my seat and crossed my legs slowly. Oh, sweetheart. That's adorable. But see, just looking at you offends me. So how about you drop out? Gasps echoed across the room. Laughter followed. Isabelle's face turned red. Lucas's jaw tightened. I continued, voice cold and steady. Or should we tally it up? All the money, clothes, meals I paid for? Let's just consider them wasted on a dog. Isabelle opened her mouth. Ah, I said, holding up a hand, and one more thing. If I ever hear you using my name for clout again, I'll personally have your name scrubbed from this school's records. Got it? Silence. Harper clapped, just once, slow and dramatic. Guess the real Natalie Cross finally showed up. I smirked. About time. Later that day, I caught sight of Isabelle dragging Lucas toward the music wing, trying to salvage her plan with crocodile tears. It was pathetic. He probably thought I was mad at Lucas and taking it out on her. She had no idea I'd already buried both of them in my mind. They were corpses walking. They just didn't know it yet. As I was packing up for the day, Harper walked over. Okay, what's your deal? I glanced at her. Define deal. You're different. She narrowed her eyes. Sharp, pulled, almost tolerable. I chuckled. Maybe I'm just tired of being used. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. Good. Stick with that. And for the record, I never bought Isabelle's act. I noticed. She hesitated. And for what it's worth, welcome back. I smiled. Thanks. It's good to be back. That night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. In my past life, this was the night I started falling for Lucas. The night he texted me a thank you message. The night Isabelle accidentally called me crying because she felt guilty. And I comforted her. Believed her. Not this time. My phone buzzed. One message from Lucas. Lucas, read, I know I'm not perfect, but I hope we're still okay. Delete. I rolled over and turned off the screen. Let them squirm. Let them doubt. Let them wonder what I knew and what I didn't. This was only the beginning. Dance had always been my dream. Not law school. Not corporate succession. Not sitting in a boardroom with my name etched into gold plaques. It was always dance. The stage. The spotlight. The way the world fell away when I moved. But in my last life I let Isabelle take that from me too. This time I wasn't going to miss a single beat. The announcement came during fifth period. As part of our anniversary celebrations, said Ms. Reed, our music director, Northcrest's dance troupe will lead the final performance. All current and prospective dancers, Please report to the studio after school. The moment the announcement ended, I caught Isabelle's eyes flick to me from across the room. There was again that gleam. Not surprise. Not fear. Calculated anticipation. Because in the last life she'd joined the troupe under the pretense of keeping me company. I'd covered her fees. Paid for her uniform. Even taught her routines when she said she was struggling. I thought I was being a good friend. And on the day of the performance? I was locked in the studio. Literally. The doors mysteriously jammed. I had to jump out a window, cutting my legs on shards of glass. I missed the show and ruined my body, while Isabelle took my place in the spotlight with tears in her eyes and a tragic story on her lips. She told the school, I just didn't want Natalie's dream to die. Everyone clapped. Even my brother. Not this time. After the final bell, I made my way to the studio. I was the first one there. Fitting. The space was as I remembered it. Mirrored walls, polished wood floors, soft mats rolled in the corners. The smell of rosin and eucalyptus. It was familiar, almost sacred. I stepped into the center and spun once, letting the light catch the curve of my movement. It felt good. Natal. I was home. The other dancers trickled in, chatting, stretching, gossiping. Some of them looked at me with curiosity. Others with quiet awe. And then she entered. Isabelle. Wearing casual clothes, not a uniform. Her ponytail loose, lips slightly parted in faux surprise. Oh, she said too loudly. Natalie. I didn't know you were joining again this year. That's so great. Of course she knew. She'd been waiting for me to show up, waiting to use me as her ladder all over again. I turned slowly. Isabelle, I said with the warmth of a glacier, didn't you quit dance last semester? She blinked. Oh, right. But I wanted to get back into it. You inspired me, remember? I tilted my head. Inspire you to do what, exactly? Twirl in front of my ex-fiancé again. A few of the other dancers laughed quietly. Isabelle's ears turned red. I mean, she said quickly, I don't have the uniform yet, but I thought maybe I could. You thought wrong. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Ms. Reed entered, clipboard in hand, and began calling roll. When she saw Isabelle, her brows furrowed. Miss Hart. You're not on the list. I meant to sign up today, Isabelle said with that practiced tremble in her voice. I've just been overwhelmed. Ms. Reed nodded, but her gaze flicked toward me. Natalie, you're leading again? I smiled. Of course. I've already submitted my choreography. Good. She scribbled something down. Let's begin warm-ups. As everyone began stretching, Isabelle came slinking toward me like a stray cat looking for a bowl of milk. I don't have a uniform, she whispered. Could you maybe help me out? Just this once. I turned to her slowly. Help you? Her eyes lit up. I mean, you brought me here, right? So I thought. Isabelle, I said loud enough for half the room to hear, I didn't bring you anywhere. You followed me like a roach. A few dancers coughed to hide their laughter. Harper, who had appeared like a ghost at my side, let out a snort. Ms. Reed looked up. Isabelle, if you haven't paid your fees, I can't issue you a uniform. We've gone over this. I was just waiting for Natalie to cover it, she blurted out. The silence that followed was thunderous. I raised an eyebrow. You want me to pay for you? Isabelle gave me her best doe-eyed expression. Well, you always did before. And look where that got me, I said, stepping closer. Burned in a car while you smiled like you'd won. Isabelle flinched. What? Oh, nothing. I smiled sweetly. Just a passing thought. Ms. Reed tapped her pen. I'm sorry, Isabelle, but we can't make exceptions. Either pay today or leave. Isabelle bit her lip, looked at me, then at Harper, who was already filming this whole scene with zero shame, and finally turned and walked out, fuming. Good. That would have been my cue to let it go in the past. But not in this life. The next day she came crawling back. She was waiting for me near my locker, holding a duffel bag and wearing the fakest nervous smile I'd ever seen. Natalie. I borrowed a uniform, she said quickly. Someone from last year. I want to rejoin. I even paid the late fee. My eyes scanned her face. A little bruised ego. A lot of desperation. She was clutching this one thread like it was her last chance. As it was. Great, I said with a nod. I'll see you at practice. At rehearsal I gave her exactly what she wanted. Spotlight. But not the flattering kind. Everyone partner up. I called. We're trying a new lift sequence today. I'll demonstrate with Harper. Harper grinned. Don't drop me, Cross. I'm fragile. You're dense as stone. You'll be fine. We twirled through the move, flawless, synchronized. Then I turned to the group. Isabelle, you try next. She blinked. Wait, who's my partner? You are, I said and called over the clumsiest first year in the room. Jeremy, be gentle. Jeremy was sweet but awkward and stood at least a foot taller than Isabelle. The second she tried the lift, her feet tangled and she nearly hit the floor. Gasps all around. Ms. Reed rushed over. Enough, she said. Natalie will work on solos. Of course, I said. I just wanted to test their commitment. From the back, Harper gave me a thumbs up and mouthed, savage. 3 weeks passed. Isabelle floundered at every practice. Every time she got something right, I raised the bar. A little faster. A little higher. A little more complex. He tried to keep up. Tried to smile. But I saw it, cracks forming. One day after rehearsal, she cornered me by the lockers, trembling. Why are you doing this? She asked. I thought we were friends. No, Isabelle, I said calmly. You thought I was a stepping stone. And you were right. I leaned closer. But I'm done being stepped on. The day of the performance finally arrived. The auditorium buzzed with excitement. Families, board members, press. I stood behind the curtain, dressed in sapphire silk, ready to perform a routine I'd choreographed myself. Ms. Reed approached me. You ready, Natalie? I nodded. Always. Harper adjusted her costume beside me. Showtime, boss. As the music swelled and the lights rose, we stepped onto the stage. Every move, every spin, every extension, it was mine. My story. My resurrection. And when I landed the final pose in a single graceful arc, the crowd erupted. Cheers. Applause. Standing ovation. But the best part? I looked down and saw Isabelle in the front row. Her expression? Shattered. After the show she tried one last time. In the hallway where no one else could hear. Natalie, she whispered, gripping my arm. Please. I'm sorry. I don't know what I did that made you hate me so much. I pulled my arm free. I don't hate you, Isabelle, I said. Hate is for equals. You're just background noise. She didn't reply. Just stared. You had your moment, I added. Now you can go crawl back to the shadows where you belong. And I walked away, heels clicking, heart steady. Because that dance. That wasn't just a performance. It was a warning. I was back. And I was going to take everything. There are a few universal truths in life. 1. Gravity always wins. 2. Cheap perfume smells worse the longer it lingers. 3. And when someone like Isabelle Hart feels threatened, she lashes out like a spoiled cat cornered in a bathroom. After our school dance performance, where I soared and she sulked, she went uncharacteristically quiet for 3 whole days. No tears. No dramatic hallway blocking. No begging. Which only meant one thing. He was planning something. Friday afternoon gym class. The one place at Northcrest where personal vendettas could be disguised as accidents. We were warming up for a casual volleyball game. Normally, I'd have passed on anything involving chasing balls and team bonding, but I'd promised Harper I'd show up at least once. Don't leave me alone with these peppy freaks, she had pleaded, dragging me to the gym. They do push-ups for fun, Natalie. Fun. And because Harper had been the one person in both lives who'd never once lied to me, I showed up, reluctantly. We were paired on the same team. She grumbled through every rotation. We're not even playing a real match. What is this? Team building? I'd rather build a coffin. I snorted. At least then you'd be horizontal. She rolled her eyes but smiled. That's the spirit. Halfway through the scrimmage I went to grab water. The other students were gathered around the net, rotating. I noticed Isabelle hovering on the opposite side, far too alert for someone who didn't know how to play. And that's when it happened. I heard a sharp thud followed by a startled cry. I turned. Harper was on the ground, clutching her knee. A volleyball rolled to a stop beside her. For a second silence. Then chaos. Harper. I rushed over and knelt beside her. Her leg was scraped and starting to swell. She grimaced through gritted teeth. God, oh. I'm fine. Maybe. No, you're not. I helped her sit up. What happened? That witch, she hissed. That was no accident. My gaze snapped up to Isabelle, who stood stiffly on the other side of the court, clutching her hands like she'd just dropped the Holy Grail. Oh no, she stammered. I didn't mean to. I rose slowly, my face cool. Oh, I said, each word coated in frost. You didn't mean to aim a direct serve at someone who wasn't even looking? Her lips trembled. I'm not good at sports, Natalie. It was just... I lost control. Lost control, my ass. My jaw tightened. The gym had gone silent. Even the students who usually laughed through anything were dead quiet now, eyes ping-ponging between me and Isabelle. This was it. This was my moment. I stepped across the court. I believe you, I said gently. She blinked in confusion. Then, my palm met her cheek in a slap so loud it echoed through the gym like a gunshot. Gasps. Wide eyes. Isabelle stumbled back, one hand flying to her face. You're crazy, she cried, her voice cracking. You hit me. Oh, I'm not finished. I slapped the other cheek just as hard. The silence in the room shattered into stunned whispers. Even the coach, Coach Benson, who had the emotional range of a parking meter, just stood there, jaw slack. I warned you, I said, stepping in close so only she could hear. Don't touch what's mine. That includes my people. Harper had hobbled to the bench with help from another student. She was now leaning forward, whispering, "That's my girl," under her breath with a savage grin. And of course, right on cue, Lucas Reed burst through the gym doors. What the hell's going on? He demanded, eyes scanning the court. He spotted Isabelle crumpled on the floor, face red and damp, and then me standing calmly with my arms folded. Isabelle did what she always did best, she cried. "Vinny," she wailed, limping toward him. "She hit me. Twice. In front of everyone." Lucas turned to me, eyes ablaze. "Natalie, what the hell is wrong with you?" I blinked. "You mean besides the fact your mistress tried to take out my best friend with a volleyball?" He flinched, caught off guard. "She said it was an accident," he snapped. And I said I was done believing her fairy tales. I stepped forward, my voice still even, still calm. "Lucas, you should be careful," I added. "You keep defending her and people might start thinking you're not a victim, just a very loud accomplice." That hit harder than the slap. Lucas's mouth opened, then shut again. Isabelle clung to him dramatically, but even he looked annoyed now. "Let's just go," he muttered. He pulled her toward the exit, but she twisted to look back at me. Her eyes weren't tearful now. They were seething. Good. Let her burn. Later that day, I sat with Harper in the nurse's office while she got her knee wrapped. She grunted every few seconds, muttering curses under her breath. "Remind me again why I agreed to gym," she growled. "To spend quality time with me," I said, dabbing a wet cloth on her scraped shin. She groaned. "I liked you better when you were a cold-hearted heiress who didn't believe in physical activity." "You mean yesterday?" "Exactly." She paused. "That slap, though? Iconic." I smirked. She didn't see it coming. "No one did," she replied. "I swear half the class thinks you're possessed." "Let them," I said. "It'll make them think twice before touching me or you." She looked at me for a moment, then gave a small, sincere nod. "Thanks." We sat in silence for a few seconds. Then Harper asked, "You ever gonna tell me what really happened? Like, with Lucas and Isabelle?" I turned my head and stared at the blank nurse's chart hanging on the wall. "They burned me alive," I said softly. "Wait, what?" I smiled. "Metaphorically." She raised a brow but didn't push further. "Just promise me something," I added. "Anything. If I ever start acting like Isabelle, slap me." He grinned. "Gladly." By Monday morning, the whole school had heard. Someone had filmed the slap and posted it to Northcrest's private student board. It had nearly 200 comments and a dozen remix edits already. The most popular one had a slow-mo replay with dramatic opera music. Lucas, meanwhile, had been dubbed Golden Boy of Puan South, a sarcastic jab at his new reputation for defending the most spoiled girl on campus. They walked the halls like ghosts now, watched, whispered about, pitted. Their kingdom had fallen. And I had barely raised my voice. Tuesday after school, I found Isabelle waiting by the lockers. Honestly, I was beginning to think she enjoyed the humiliation. "Please," she said, stepping in front of me. I know you're mad. But I can't lose everything. Not dance. Not school. Not Lucas. You should have thought of that before trying to injure my friend, I said, moving past her. She chased after me. I can explain. No need, I said, spinning to face her. In fact, let's break it down together. I raced my fingers and counted off. 1. You targeted Harper. 2. You faked your innocence. 3. You're still playing the victim. Because I am, she cried. You've turned everyone against me. I laughed. No, Isabelle. You did that yourself. I just handed them the mirror. She blinked. And for the first time I saw it. Cracks in the mask. The girl who'd always been in control, always able to lie, manipulate, perform, was crumbling. You think you've won, she hissed. I smiled. Oh, Isabelle. This is just my opening act. That night I sat alone in the Cross family garden, sipping tea under the cherry blossom trees. The same garden where I once sat weeping over Lucas Reed's cold behavior. Where Isabelle once consoled me, wiping fake tears and secretly texting him behind my back. I looked up at the stars. They looked different now. Not colder. Not cruel. Just clearer. I wasn't the girl who begged for crumbs anymore. I was the girl who would feast on the empire they built with lies. And when I was done, there wouldn't be a single thread left for them to cling to. Some people crave power. Others crave pity. Isabelle Hart, she weaponized pity like it was a designer handbag. Always on her arm, always on display, always ready to be pulled out for attention. But what happens when pity turns into mockery? When her carefully curated image crumbles under the stage lights? Simple. She breaks. And I was going to make sure I gave her the microphone to do it herself. 3 weeks after the slap heard round Northcrest, the school anniversary arrived. The celebration was a big deal. Press, alumni, board members, sponsors, all of them came crawling out of their glossy glass offices to watch teenagers perform and pretend it was a meaningful tradition. I didn't mind. I loved the stage. The adrenaline, the spotlight, the silence before the music began. And this year, I wasn't just performing. I was headlining. The lead soloist. The queen of the night. My routine was sharp, technical, full of bold footwork and precise emotion. I'd rewritten it entirely after my rebirth, choreographed not for beauty but for declaration. This wasn't about elegance. It was about revenge. Backstage was a swarm of nerves and makeup sponges. Girls fixing each other's eyeliner. Boys adjusting their vests and pretending not to care. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the fitted sapphire blue costumes stitched just for me. Every sequin shimmered under the dressing room lights like little fragments of fire. Fitting. Harper poked her head in. Final call. You ready, Ice Queen? I met her gaze through the mirror. Always. She smirked. Kill it. As she turned to leave, I caught a flash of white in the mirror. Isabelle. Standing behind the curtain staring at me, not in envy this time but with something darker. Obsession. I stepped onto the stage. The lights dimmed. The auditorium hushed. The music began. And I danced. Every move was deliberate. Every spin a memory. Every pointed toe a strike against the past. I could feel my body echoing years of sacrifice. Of tears. Of a dream buried beneath other people's ambition. I leaped, landed, spun again. Thunderous applause followed me. I was nearing the final arc. My closing solo. The moment when the entire troupe would fade into the shadows, and I would emerge center stage in a single spotlight. But just as I stepped forward, the music cut off. The auditorium went silent. I blinked in confusion as the main screen above the stage flickered to life. A video began to play. My heart stilled. In the footage, Isabelle clutched her cheek and whimpered. My voice echoed, cold and unforgiving. If your eyes are broken, drop out. If your brain's broken, go to a psych ward. I, Natalie Cross, have money, looks and talent. What do you have? Gasps rippled through the crowd. I stood frozen as the screen cut to black. Then came the footsteps. Isabelle, dressed in a white chiffon dress and fake tears, stormed onto the stage holding a mic like it was an Oscar acceptance speech. Natalie Cross has bullied me since the start of the year, she sobbed dramatically. Just because I come from a less fortunate family, she's targeted me again and again. He even slapped me. And kicked me out of the dance troupe. She didn't want me to shine. These videos are proof. She turned to the crowd, voice cracking perfectly. She's cruel. Dialed. Abusive. A hush fell over the auditorium. Even the reporters, who were only here to snap shots of student performances, had lifted their cameras. This little snake had orchestrated a scandal. And she thought I would crumble. How predictable. Before I could speak, another voice rang out. Harper. She ripped off her performance veil and stormed onto the stage. Oh please, she snapped. If you hadn't thrown a volleyball at my face, we wouldn't even care about you. Laughter. A few students even clapped. Isabelle's face twisted, but she clung to her role. This school always takes Natalie's side. Because she's rich. Because she's powerful. And then she glanced sideways. Subtle, but I caught it. She was looking at my brother. Damon Cross. Sitting in the front row, arms folded. He wasn't smiling. Wasn't clapping. Just watching. Waiting. Was this the real goal? Not me. Him. I narrowed my eyes. And stepped forward. Taking the microphone from Harper, I held it up calmly. I'm so glad you brought up fairness, Isabelle, I said smoothly. Because if we're talking about abuse, perhaps we should talk about theft too? Confusion flickered across her face. I mean, I continued, the part where you joined the dance troupe without paying. Or the part where you pretended to be poor so I'd cover your expenses. Or maybe the fact that you forged injury reports to get sympathy and stage time. I have receipts. Literal ones. A few snickers. I turned to the side of the stage and nodded once. Seconds later, the main screen flickered again. Surveillance footage. Isabelle tossing a volleyball with full force at Harper. Isabelle being told by the music teacher to leave for unpaid fees. Isabelle bragging in the hallway about using my name to get into clubs. The auditorium erupted. The whispers weren't just whispers anymore. She lied. She faked everything. Isn't that the girl who cried in the gym? I handed the mic back to Harper and turned toward Isabelle. Her face had drained of all color. Just as she was about to speak, Damon stood up from the front row. And began walking to the stage. The crowd parted. This wasn't just my older brother. He was a Cross. Vice chair of the school board. A silent partner in 3 tech firms. And more importantly, the man everyone wanted to impress. Isabelle's eyes lit up, hopeful. Desperate. Mr. Cross, please, I never meant to cause trouble. I was just trying to survive. He didn't even look at her. He walked right past her and stepped beside me. Natalie, he said, his voice low but firm, are you all right? I nodded. I'm fine. Then, without sparing Isabelle a glance, he turned to the principal. I request an immediate board review on this student's conduct. Fabricating lies. Sabotaging school property. Public defamation. She has no place here. No. Isabelle cried. No, please, I was only trying to perform. You already did, Harper muttered. Just not the kind of performance you hoped for. Isabelle fell to her knees right there on stage, crying. But there was no applause. No sympathy. No support. Only silence. She was done. That night the internet buzzed. North Crest Student Board lit up with the unedited footage. Students flooded the forums with reactions. By midnight, Isabelle Hart had been unofficially cancelled. Me. I was trending. Not just as the heiress, but as the queen who danced through sabotage and still took center stage. The next morning, Isabelle's parents showed up at the school. They pleaded. But got down on their knees in the courtyard. Isabelle stood to the side, red-eyed and trembling. Until she snapped. Get up, she shouted at them. You're embarrassing me. Everyone turned to watch. Even faculty. You're useless, she screamed. You have no pride. I'd rather drop out than be seen with you. And she did. She ran. Face in her hands. Humiliation trailing behind her like smoke from a dying fire. The board expelled her the following week. Official reason: disruption of academic environment and deliberate defamation. Unofficially, Natalie Cross doesn't get touched without consequences. As for Lucas, he tried to keep his head down. Walked the halls with headphones in, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. But the rumors didn't spare him either. How long do you think he knew? Did he help Isabelle forge those documents? He was so smug. He deserves this. Harper had a new nickname for him, Mr. Moral High Ground. I didn't correct her. He hadn't defended Isabelle after that night. Not once. But he hadn't apologized either. Which told me everything I needed to know. The celebration faded. The scandal blew over. But something new had risen from the ashes. Me. The version of Natalie Cross no one saw coming. Not the girl who gave. But the girl who took back everything. And as I watched Isabelle's name vanish from the student registry and her desk sit empty in class, I couldn't help but think. One down. Isabelle Hart used to float through Northcrest Academy like a saint draped in silk and sighs. Soft-spoken. Delicate. Always just a little broken, always just a little perfect. She had the entire school convinced she was a gentle soul born into the wrong life. But when the veil ripped, and oh did it rip, what we saw beneath wasn't gentle. It was hollow. It was hungry. It was dangerous. No. It was over. A week had passed since her expulsion. Her locker was cleared out. Her name scrubbed from every activity list. Her photos quietly removed from school promotional materials. It was as if Isabelle Hart had never existed. And yet her shadow lingered. Whispers in the halls, rumors in the forums. She screamed at her parents in front of everyone. They say she forged injury records. I heard she was caught trying to steal Natalie Cross's dance routine. I didn't bother correcting any of them. Some were true. Some weren't. Did it matter? The myth of the pitiful little angel had fallen. And the snake underneath was hissing, not crying. Harper and I were eating lunch on the rooftop when she kicked off her shoe and said, "I gotta admit, Nat. That was satisfying." What? The fall of a liar or the part where she screamed at her parents in front of the principal? Harper grinned. Both. But mostly how you didn't even flinch. Like ice in your veins, girl. Real queen energy. I stirred my iced coffee and leaned back against the railing. It's easier the second time. She raised a brow. Second time. I sipped, then gave her a smile. Long story. Try me. I was about to answer when footsteps echoed behind us. Lucas Reed. Of course. He always had a knack for showing up at the worst possible moments. He looked different. Not broken. But not proud either. There was something haunted in the way he walked. Something weary about his silence. Harper stiffened beside me. Want me to go? No, I said. Stay. Lucas stopped a few feet away. Natalie. Can we talk? No. Just 5 minutes. I exhaled. Fine. 5 minutes. But not alone. He nodded. I remember everything, he said softly. My brow furrowed. What do you mean? I mean, he looked up, locking eyes with me. From our past life. The one where you died. The world stilled. For a full 5 seconds I didn't speak. Not because I didn't believe him, but because I did. There was something in his gaze I recognized. The depth of guilt. The layers of self-loathing. The kind of scars that don't come from just a slap or a bad breakup. Well, he knew. He had seen it. He had lived it. Harper looked between us, confused. Wait, what are you two talking about? Lucas ignored her. His voice dropped, earnest and low. I didn't know how much you meant to me until it was too late. When you died, when I saw your body in flames, I lost my mind. I thought I could rebuild everything. That maybe if I became successful enough I could honor your memory. Do something with the life you gave me. I stared at him. I was angry, he continued. At Isabelle. At myself. At the world. And then I woke up. He looked around at the rooftop. 10 years ago. Back in this school. Just like you. Harper blinked. Okay, what alternate universe conversation did I just walk into? I didn't answer her. I focused on him. On him. The man who left me to die. And now stood here trying to justify it with fate and regret. So, I said slowly, you remembered everything. And your first thought was to cozy up to Isabelle again. Lucas flinched. That's how you honored me? Asked my voice cold. By playing the same twisted game? Watching me from a distance like a coward while pretending she was your world again. He shook his head. I didn't know how to face you. Of course you didn't, I said. Because facing me means facing what you did. What you let happen. He stepped closer. But I'm trying now. I'm different this time. Different. I laughed. You were still her shield. Still her excuse. Still the man who said my life wasn't worth a dream. That wasn't what I meant. It's what you said, Lucas. I snapped. You left me in a burning car to save a girl with a bruised leg. Do you honestly think I'd forget that just because you woke up with a second chance? He fell silent. Harper folded her arms. You done yet? Or are you waiting for forgiveness on a silver platter too? Lucas looked at her, eyes sharp. You weren't there. You don't know. I was there, Harper interrupted. I held her when she was grieving. When she didn't know why the man she gave everything to turned his back. And now you want to play hero again? Get lost. His jaw tightened. But I raised a hand. I don't need you to leave, I told him. Because I'm not afraid of you anymore. I'm not the Natalie who needed your validation. I'm the Natalie who buried you when the fire burned out. I stepped closer. If you're back in this timeline, I whispered, then remember this. I won't make the same mistake twice. Lucas looked at me for a long moment. Then he smiled. Soft. Almost sad. I expected that, he said. And he turned to leave. The next day I got the full picture. Lucas had been trying to rebuild his success behind the scenes. Reaching out to tech founders he remembered would take off years later. Using knowledge from the future to gain early traction. But he was a student. He had no capital. No clout. No connections. They laughed him off. And when one opportunity did open up he couldn't even get there. He didn't have airfare. Pathetic. In our last life I had paved every road for him. Every investment. Every deal. Every handshake. He thought he was brilliant. Thought he'd done it all on his own. But he was a puppet. And I was the one pulling the strings. This time, he had nothing. Because I had already beaten him to every single move. I still can't believe he remembered, Harper said, lounging across my bedroom couch that weekend. I can, I replied. The way he looked at me after Isabelle fell. Like he'd already grieved. Harper rolled onto her stomach. You think he's dangerous? I paused. Yes, I said. Not in the way Isabelle was. But Lucas is the type who thinks love is ownership. That regret is currency. He'll try to buy redemption. She made a face. Gross. Worse, I said, turning to her. He thinks he deserves me because he mourned me. Harper blinked. Well, I mourn pancakes every time I finish a stack. Doesn't mean I deserve them forever. I grinned. She's learning, I said. From the best, she replied. 2 weeks passed. Lucas didn't approach me again. But I could feel him hovering. In the way he lingered in the halls. The way his desk always faced mine at a diagonal angle. The way he turned every time I laughed. He watched. He waited. And every time Isabelle's name was mentioned, every time someone whispered her downfall, I saw guilt flash across his face. But guilt doesn't redeem you. It only exposes you. One day after practice I found him waiting outside the studio. He didn't speak. Just held out a small velvet box. What is this? I asked, not taking it. A ring, he said. The one I meant to give you, before everything. I stared at it. Then at him. And then I said something I never got to say in the last life. Lucas, I don't need your ring. He swallowed. But I love you. No, I said. You love what I gave you. What I made you. You love the version of yourself that existed because of me. I took a step back. But I'm not your mirror anymore. And you're not my mistake. You're just a lesson. I left the box in his hand. And walked away. I always thought heartbreak was the worst pain a person could endure. Turns out it's not. Being hunted by someone who once claimed they loved you? That's worse. Being tied to a chair in a basement, while the man you once called yours whispers about how pretty you'll still be when your face is ruined. Yeah. That takes the crown. It started with the rain. Thick, suffocating rain. The kind that made the air feel like soup and the clouds hang heavy over the school like a bad omen. I stayed behind that weekend for extra practice. Everyone else had gone home. The school felt hollow and dim. My last solo of the routine needed tightening. And in this new life I didn't waste opportunities. I should have known something was wrong the second I stepped out of the studio. The courtyard was empty. Not just everyone went home, empty. Eerie, soul-silent empty. No birds. No cars. Just the sound of water slapping against the pavement. Then, darkness. A sharp pain bloomed at the base of my skull. And everything went black. When I woke up it was freezing. I was tied to a wooden chair, hands bound behind my back, ankles strapped tight. The room was dim, lit only by a single overhead bulb that flickered like it had commitment issues. And standing by a table? Lucas Reed, wearing gloves. Boiling water steamed from a pot on a rusted burner beside him. My heart slammed against my ribs. Not from fear. Not from confusion. From clarity. He had snapped. "Natalie," he said softly, not turning to face me, "do you remember this place?" I didn't answer. He chuckled almost fondly. "This was where we came after I said yes to your confession. You told me you'd stay by my side forever." His eyes met mine. "But in the end, you left." I smiled faintly despite the pain in my head. "I died in a car you abandoned me in, Lucas. You don't get to rewrite that." He flinched. "But I never loved her," he muttered. "Not really. Isabelle was she was a placeholder. A mistake." "Then you should have burned with her," I said coldly. His jaw tensed. "I tried everything," he said, pacing. "I tried to rebuild what I lost. I tried to go back and fix it. But no matter what I did, you still hated me." I said nothing. The steam from the pot was growing louder now, bubbling violently. Lucas turned to me slowly, his voice soft. "If I can't have the version of you I loved, then no one should." He picked up the pot and stepped forward. My hands trembled against the ropes, but I wasn't panicked. Because Lucas had underestimated one thing. Me. "You know what's funny?" I said lightly. Lucas blinked. I smiled. "For someone who remembers the future, you forgot I was never helpless." Then I took. The rope slipped from my wrists. He froze. I kicked the leg of the chair outward, knocking him off balance. The pot flew from his hands, its boiling contents sloshing midair. And I slammed my foot into his knee, sending him crashing to the floor just as the water splattered across his face. His scream shattered the silence. The door burst open. Damon, my brother, stormed in, followed by Harper and 2 police officers. Lucas writhed on the ground, clutching his face, steam rising from his blistering skin. "You lied to me," he shrieked through sobs. "You played me." "No," I said, standing over him, completely calm. "I survived you." The officers dragged him up, cuffing him as he continued to scream and thrash. Blood and boiling water had turned his face into something unrecognizable. Damon's voice was quiet and lethal. "He's done." At the station, everything came spilling out. Lucas's obsession. The surveillance footage of him stalking me. The forged access logs from the basement storage unit. The burner phone hidden in his locker. And then the final blow. A body. They found Isabelle's remains in an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Her body was decayed, barely recognizable, but the DNA confirmed it. Her cause of death? Blunt force trauma. The last known person seen with her? Lucas Reed. The golden boy. The dreamer. The monster. The trial was short. Lucas was convicted of kidnapping, attempted murder, and homicide. The judge didn't even blink when sentencing him to life in prison without parole. He asked to see me one last time. I refused. In the weeks that followed, everything returned to quiet. Northcrest resumed like nothing had happened. That's what elite schools do, they sweep. But my name was different now. No longer just the cross heiress. No longer just the top student. I was the girl who survived fire, twice. Harper and I sat on the rooftop again, the late spring sun warming our skin. She tossed a grape at my head. I caught it midair. "Really?" He grinned. "Just making sure you haven't gone soft." I leaned back and closed my eyes. "Trust me. I'm harder than ever." "Yeah, well," she said, stretching, "you still owe me a proper sleepover. Preferably one that doesn't end with boiling water and arrest reports." I laughed. "Deal." That night, Damon stopped by my room. He sat at the edge of the bed, silent for a long while. "I almost lost you," he said quietly. "But you didn't." He nodded. "I'm going to increase your security detail." "Damon." "I don't care if it makes me overbearing," he said. "You're all I have." I paused. Then reached out and took his hand. "You're all I have too." Later, as I stood before the mirror, brushing my hair, I caught my own reflection and didn't look away. For once, I didn't see a girl desperate for love. Or a broken heart in a borrowed dress. I saw me. Natalie Cross. Burned. Betrayed. Reborn. And far from done. Some stories end with a kiss. Mine ended with a gavel. And the sound of Lucas Reed being dragged from a courtroom in handcuffs. There were no violins. No slow fades to black. Just a judge in horn-rimmed glasses announcing a life sentence without parole, and me sitting in the front row, spine straight, heart steady. It should have felt like triumph. Instead it felt like punctuation. A full stop. Because the version of me that once loved Lucas? She was already dead. It's strange, isn't it? How we spend so much time thinking closure will be some grand epiphany. A dramatic final showdown. A speech so sharp it slices the soul. But the truth? Closure is quiet. It's the way I stopped checking his name online. It's how Isabelle's perfume no longer clung to my nightmares. It's the moment I realized I didn't have to keep reliving their crimes to justify the war I waged. After the trial, reporters camped outside Northcrest for weeks. They called it the heiress in the firestorm scandal. Some praised me. Some speculated I was just as twisted. I didn't care. Let them talk. I'd spent one lifetime being silent, shrinking myself to fit into Lucas's spotlight, covering for Isabelle's lies. This time I wore their destruction like armor. Damon made good on his word. Security was upgraded. Paparazzi were handled. And quietly, without press conferences or boardroom statements, he made sure every company Lucas ever tried to pitch to in the past or future knew what he had done. His reputation was sanded down to dust. Isabelle, of course, didn't live to see any of it. Her death, once discovered, triggered lawsuits, angry think pieces, and debates about dangerous teen entitlement. But to me, she was already gone long before her body was found. The Isabelle I once knew, the soft-voiced angel with fake tears, had died the moment she chose to betray me. Everything after was just decay. One rainy morning I went back to the studio. The same dance studio where I once lay curled on the floor sobbing, listening to Lucas's voicemails and wondering if I was simply unworthy. This time I stood in the center of the wooden floor in silence. Then I danced. No audience. No judges. Just me. And when I finished I didn't cry. I smiled. Graduation came quickly after that. I wore a silk dress instead of a cap and gown. Harper called me the Ice Phoenix in her speech. I pretended to roll my eyes, but I didn't correct her. Because she was right. I wasn't reborn as something soft. I came back sharper. Stronger. Impossible to cage. As I walked across the auditorium shaking hands with officials and snapping photos with my classmates, someone slipped a note into my palm. Lucas Reed requests a final visit. I folded it neatly and tossed it into the trash. Harper and I moved into our new apartment that summer. A high-rise on the east side of the city with floor-to-ceiling windows and terrible plumbing. We loved it. She took the room with the sunniest corner. I took the one with the locked filing cabinet filled with documents. The kind that bore the Cross family seal and signatures of future investment partners. Because while Lucas built dreams off my back, I had started quietly building empires. Damon wasn't the only Cross capable of power. I just learned how to wield mine with grace. And patience. One afternoon as I pored over legal forms, Harper flopped on the couch beside me and said, "You know what's weird?" "What?" "I kind of miss the drama." I smirked. "You mean getting nearly concussed by a volleyball? Or almost boiled alive in a basement?" He grinned. Details, details. "I just mean we were so alive then." "We're still alive now," I said, closing my folder. She leaned her head against mine. "Yeah. But now we get to live." A year later I received a letter. No return address. Plain envelope. Blocky handwriting. But I knew it was from him. Inside was a single page. "I think about you every day. Not with regret. With hunger. You became everything I couldn't. You survived me. I hope that haunts you. Because it does haunt me." I lit a match. And burned it. Years passed. I rose through the ranks, built 2 foundations, ran a silent equity fund, and became the youngest CEO of a digital media conglomerate before age 25. People called me brilliant. But I wasn't brilliant. I was just done being used. One day, during a keynote speech at a women's leadership summit, I stood before a crowd of rising entrepreneurs, activists, and students. And I told them this. You don't have to survive for someone else's redemption. You don't have to bleed so they can feel sorry. Survival isn't about just breathing. It's about choosing who gets to stand beside your fire, and who you burn to ash. They rose to their feet in applause. But I didn't smile for them. I smiled for the girl I used to be. The one who cried in a wedding dress. The one who begged someone to love her back. The one who died. And later that night when I stood on the rooftop of my building, watching the city buzz beneath me, I whispered one final truth into the wind. I wasn't the girl you left behind, Lucas. I was the woman you should have feared. The end.